Our local drive shaft shop went out of business. Something weird's going on here that I haven't seen before.
You know that drive shaft I just put in? Well, there's a slight problem with it.
I'm nervous, I'm not sure why. Hello builders and makers. Welcome back to Build Theory, where I show you my build process in order to encourage and enable your own projects. I have a 12-valve Cummins Explorer and it's running. Sitting on 37s, it's got a 12-valve Cummins in it, and it's gonna be awesome. I'm excited. However, it's not quite driving yet. This video, I'm gonna try and get it driving. At the very least, I would like to get the wheels turning and stopping in this video. There's a bunch of small things I need to do in order to get that done, so let's get to work. The first thing I want to talk about are the drive shafts. This is the rear drive shaft that I got out of the Ram 2500 pickup truck. This is how much pipe I needed to get cut out of it. I took this to a machine shop, gave them my measurements, and they cut and welded this thing, and this is how much pipe they removed. You can see that's what the weld looks like. Since I took it to a machine shop, they did a pretty good job, and I am plenty confident in this thing. I want to test fit this in the car to make sure my measurements are right, and also to make sure that this thing actually fits in that thing. While we're looking at this thing, there's a couple things I wanted to point out about the way that drive shafts work, just because when I was in engineering school, there was some things that surprised me, so I thought I'd point them out. First of all, even though this is 4-inch diameter drive shaft, the wall thickness is only around 90 thou or something. You might be thinking, why the hell would you want such a big diameter with such a small thickness? Won't that be weak? In compression, you're right. If you're trying to push down on this thing, it'll buckle. But in torsion, when you're trying to twist this thing, this wall thickness does not matter very much at all. What matters is the diameter and how long it is. Those are the two factors that affect torsional strength the most. If you wanted a stronger drive shaft, making this thicker does almost nothing. What you're way better off doing is making it shorter or making the diameter bigger. And all of that is to say that this drive shaft came out of a 3/4 ton Ram 2500 pickup truck, and it's going in a tiny Explorer, and I removed 25 inches out of it. Not only is this drive shaft way stronger than it needs to be, I made it way stronger by cutting it shorter. I just thought that was worth mentioning. And if you're ever doing a drive shaft project, keep that in mind. Shorter and bigger diameter makes it stronger. Thicker doesn't add very much strength and torsion. So that's the rear drive shaft. What about the front drive shaft? Well, sometime between me starting this build process and now, our local drive shaft shop went out of business. That's why I was using the machine shop and not the drive shaft shop to do this one. But the local machine shop isn't comfortable extending this because they don't really have the pipe or anything. So the machine shop would shorten a drive shaft, but they weren't comfortable lengthening a drive shaft, and that's why the front drive shaft is an issue. And what that means is that for now, I don't actually have a way to do the front drive shaft. Now I'm either gonna have to drive to a drive shaft shop in another town, or I'm just gonna have to do this one myself. I haven't really decided yet, but for now, no front drive shaft until I figure that out. We're gonna focus on just the rear drive shaft. That'll be enough to make it move, and unfortunately, I'm gonna be a poser with no front drive shaft and a 4-wheel drive for a minute, but that's enough for a test drive at least. I test fit this thing, the length is right, it'll fit underneath the car. Granted, I had to do a little more hammering and a little more cutting to make this drive shaft yoke here actually fit under the car, but that now fits. Before I install this in the car permanently, there's a couple things I want to do. First, I want to throw some paint on it. There's a fresh weld there and stuff. Might as well just make sure it's going to stay nice and pretty. And then second, I'm actually going to replace this U-joint here. Now, there's nothing wrong with it. It spins and everything. It feels all right. However, these caps have fallen off a number of times while I was fiddling with this thing, and I'm missing a roller in one of these now. I'm just going to put a new U-joint in it. Maybe I'll keep the old one in case of emergencies. I don't know, but it's easy insurance. Something weird's going on here that I haven't seen before. I got the air hammers to go until it stopped going anymore, and then I threw it in the press because I figured, okay, the air hammer's just not getting the last little bit, but the press bottomed out the cross here. See, I can't move this U-joint anymore. It's bottomed out on the cross, but the caps haven't come off yet. I don't know what's going on here. I'm gonna see if I can twist this cap out. Maybe it's so close to coming out that it might go. This is gonna destroy this cap for sure, so worst case scenario, I'll just have to cut this in the end. I don't know, we'll see. I got tired of fighting with it. I just cut it. Even after I got one of these caps off, I couldn't get the other one off. Air hammer wouldn't push it through. Couldn't get it set up on the press right. I don't want to talk about it. I just gave up and I cut it. What matters is the old one's out. Let's put the new one in. Brand new shiny one. That went in so much easier than it came out. Before I put this in, I noticed that there was a little lip in there and that it was a little bit chewed up and chowdered up. So I actually took my straight grinder with a little polishing bit and I tried to polish it up and I tried to knock down any edges that were in there with some Scotch-Brite. And I spent a bunch of time cleaning out the inside of this, and it was worth doing because all it took to install it was a few hits with a hammer with a brass punch and it went right in. I think whoever installed the last one might have just gotten it slightly crooked or something and it chewed up the inside, and that's why I was struggling with it so much. This one went in perfect. So I guess check this surface when you're doing this. Make sure it's a nice clean surface, and if it isn't, polish it up. Make sure there's no edges, no broken anything. I've never experienced that before. I've done a number of these and I've never seen that before, so you live and you learn. Let's get this thing painted. Also, if you're wondering why I keep putting blue masking tape on this, it's because I really don't want these caps to fall off. If these caps fall off, then they get covered in gravel and everything, and you don't want to use them. So I usually just throw a piece of tape. Electrical tape works fine too, and that holds those on.
You know that drive shaft I just put in? Well, there's a slight problem with it. My wheel's not turning, and the reason why has to do with my pinion angle. This rear axle pinion angle is so wrong that the drive shaft is binding on its own U-joint, and this is basically ride height, so that's way off where it needs to be. I'm not sure how I managed to get it so wrong, but it's not going to be too hard to fix. If I put a wedge between the spring pack and the axle, I can tilt the axle whichever way I want. So I just need a wedge right here. This is what it looks like. It's a 3-degree wedge, and it's 3 inches by 5 inches. Now, I already know people are gonna be saying stuff like you can just buy these online, and you're not wrong, but I had a hard time finding exactly the one I needed. And on top of that, it is quicker and cheaper for me to just make it. So if you got the stuff to make it and it's quick and easy, you might as well make it, right? Let's put some paint on it and put it on the car. Let's test it. Well, go, it rotates now. There's job accomplished. Now, granted, there's not a whole lot of clearance, but there's definitely some clearance. This could be slightly better. I would prefer to change the pinion angle slightly more, but let's keep in mind that I've basically got a stock-like rear end on this, and the front end is now a lot nicer than stock. This is not the final configuration of this rear end. This travel does not match the front end. Right now, I just want to get this thing running and driving, but in the future, I'm going to be making a lot of suspension modifications. So for now, running and driving is the goal, so that when later, once I actually modify the rear end and get a lot more travel out of it, that's when I'll worry about making everything actually perfect.
Now that the wheels are turning, it's time to get the wheels stopping.
As you'll recall from before, I already ran the brake lines to the front axle and to the rear axle, so all that remains is I need to connect it to the master cylinder.
So I need to take these brake lines from here and connect them to the master cylinder up here, as well as the brake lines that come from the back of the car. I need to remove the brake lines on this thing, and these little line nuts are really notorious for stripping. I have a set of line nut wrenches, which gives you 6 points of contact even when you need to slip it over a hose or a line, but I don't have one big enough, which means I just need to use a normal open end wrench. But the problem is, these are really tight, they're known to strip, and there's a lot of stuff here for me to crack my knuckles on. Here's a quick little tip to stop things from stripping and to make sure you're not cracking your knuckles. Quick little tappy tap tap with a hammer. And you don't have to put nearly as much force in, which means that you're less likely to strip it and you're less likely to crack your knuckles. So in case anybody didn't know that little tip, I always have a hammer on me when I'm cracking stuff loose like this if I know that it's gonna be tight or if I know that it's likely to strip. All right, there's brake lines ran. Now it's time to bleed these things. So my partner's corgi is gonna help me bleed the brakes, I guess. When you're doing this, make sure you start from the wheel that is furthest away from the master cylinder and work your way towards the master cylinder. Otherwise, you'll get air trapped. Okay, push and hold. Okay, let go. Okay, push and hold. Let go. Okay, push and hold. Okay, let go. Push and hold. Look at me, just spraying myself with brake fluid.
Can't see anything. Is the green thing on my face? Do I need to do this? All right, YouTube. I think I'm gonna start this thing and run it to make sure that one, it goes through all the gears, and two, the brakes work that I just put on. Now, you might be thinking this is just an excuse to start this thing again, and you're not wrong, but it runs now, so let's run it. I want to make sure that the transfer case works both high and low, and I want to make sure that all the gears in the transmission work, and I want to make sure that the brakes work. This thing has a new clutch, new transmission, new transfer case. I had to modify the transfer case, I had to modify the clutch, I had to modify the transmission, and I want to make sure all that stuff works. So let's run it. It's not ready to drive out the door yet. There's still more stuff to do, but we can at least have the rear end jacked up and test those things.
I'm nervous, I'm not sure why. All right, fire in the hole. It's about this point that I realized I really need to wire in the grid heater for this thing. This thing has incredibly smoky startups, but the smoke does go away after it's warmed up a bit, so a grid heater would help with this.
that's ever gonna get old. It's only like the second time I've ever started it, but man, that is fun. This thing is gonna be so much fun. Unfortunately, there's still a couple things I need to do before I can drive it down the street. The front end still doesn't have shocks. I don't want it to just bounce like that going down the road, so this thing needs shocks.
Next time I'm hoping to get this thing to the point where I can actually drive it down the road, so subscribe and stick around if that's something you want to see. And until then, get out there and build something.